Welcome to EduClub TV, which is part of mapmystudy.com, one of the leading international education platforms, which is helping students and parents and guiding them on different career choices and admissions globally. My name is Pushpinder Bhatia. I'm founder and CEO of Map My Study. I'm also a proud graduate of University of Oxford at Side Business School. As part of our initiative now, we have this new series where we're interacting with senior delegates and professionals from the education sector, both from the high school and university sector. And we're trying to understand a little bit more about their challenges and what they face new after COVID and how technology is playing a key role in this sector now. I'd like to invite now Mr. Abhishek Kumar Yadav, who is the chairman of Griffin International School. Welcome, Mr. Yadav. How are you doing?
Great. Thank you, Mr. Bhatia. It's a pleasure being on this platform. A little bit about myself. I did start the school in 2017 in Kharagpur because we needed high quality education that was not available here. About my education, I did graduate from IIT Kharagpur in chemical engineering, BTech, and currently I'm pursuing a course from Harvard University as well. Because I believe as educators, we must always be upskilling ourselves. And with the rapid changes coming in the education, COVID, of course, accelerating that, yes, we have to keep moving forward. So it's interesting challenge past 1.5 years. And we quickly hope that we could get the kids back to school and see them enjoying the facilities, the joy and laughter that is there.
Yes, indeed, it's been a very tough time for this industry. That actually kind of brings me to my first question. And I understand as a chairman and also a senior administrator in the school, what's your typical leadership style? How do you see yourself evolving in this whole process?
I think as a leader, first and foremost, you should be aware that everything you do has a reflection on the institute, the staff that is there. You have to lead from the front. That is what I do. But I'm very mindful of the fact that I target to have the best minds in the room, and that is not me. That is how I look at it. So we want people to come up with criticisms. If there's an idea, I try to speak at the last because that way you get the real picture of things. And we encourage one very important thing, that make mistakes. To our teachers, because when you try something new, there will be mistakes, and we don't call it mistakes here. These are called learnings. Now, these are things we have learned. When you invent, Thomas Alva Edison had very clearly said, I know one way to make a bulb, but 10,000 other ways not to do it also. So there was all learnings to him that ended up in actually doing that. So I encourage them because I want people to be comfortable, provide them that psychological safety that they can have differences with the management in the way of things are there. Maybe they have better experience, and if they can convince, yes, we will be happy. And I would say in the past 4 years, there have been many times where teachers, or in fact, the other senior, the principal, the coordinators, they have had excellent ideas which I could not have thought of. So I always look to do that. Give your vision. Vision is very clear, and then they have brilliant ideas. Take from them. Let's debate it. If we feel something should work, something should not work, and the best route, because end of the day, everybody has a similar target, that all students must learn well. All students must be successful in life, and that is what we are here for.
No, I agree, and I think from what you're saying, the pandemic has taught us a lot more in terms of how we can innovate from our current scope of work, whether it's our business, whether it's running a school. And how we can kind of move forward with that. So with this, I'd like to actually ask you what, I know the schooling sector has struggled a lot because of this, but what is your next 10-year plan in mind? Because I'm sure we're all working on a long-term goal. So where do you see yourself? What's the priority your priority as a chairman for the next 10 years for your school?
Two things I would say. First, now that we have had a strong, influx of technology in our lives, we as an institution had already been doing these things. So our teachers never had a challenge, transitioning into online classes. But for students, the parents, it was a completely new experience. But given that now they've had that, one thing we will move towards is hybrid education, if I would say. Like we would be looking to leverage more of the technology that is available, and personalized learning is what is very, very vital, because in a class of 40 it is, I mean, not possible for teacher, to give personalized learning to all of them. Suppose you have a student in class 4, I mean, he scored 50% average and he goes to class 5. I mean, it is frankly not right to expect him to excel in the next class, because he hasn't got his concepts right there itself. So in that case, in the traditional method, it is very difficult for us to, go into that detail. So we will be looking to use technology so that we can give, targeted interventions of different students. Not only weaker, a lot of times focus is always on weaker, but they are bright students who need to be continuously challenged, so that they keep scaling higher levels. So when we go for this use of technology for personalized learning, that is one thing we will strongly look to push. Life skills, which are rather 21st century skills, if I would say, where we want students to think in a different fashion, to question the norms, see through things. So those things are, I think, one more vital thing that we will continue. So I think if we push through these things, that should, be good enough. I feel as of now to see that
That's interesting. You mentioned of technology, and I was going to ask you, because your school is, you're not in a metro city, you're not in the big city. It's a beautiful city, but it's a small town, it's a small city. What are your challenges there when it comes to implementing of the technology, or where do you see as a school your benefit being in a smaller town and rather than being in a bigger city?
There are challenges. I mean, without doubt, I would say first foremost is high quality resource. That can be a challenge in smaller towns. Kharagpur is still better because we have IIT and some industries also, so we do get some decent quality of talent. But again, still we could certainly do better. Another challenge is the parent community as such, because not everybody is adept. Not very, a lot of first generation learners also we have. So those we have to take special care. So those challenges are genuine, but also benefit is that these first generation learners, when you have the parents listen to our advice and they follow through. So a lot of times we find it easier, to implement things with those kids than those parents who are, well educated and they come with a different mindset. So it is an interesting mix of challenges. But one interesting thing I have felt, because of course COVID, though it has created challenges, but it has one interesting opportunity we have got, is that we can now get top quality resource from across the world, and at fraction of the cost. So now our training, when it happens, we get people from outside, abroad, sometimes Delhi, Calcutta, in fact, Bombay and all those places where it would be challenging for them to take up these assignments also. So that way, it's an interesting mix of challenges, but overall, I think we are moving decently. I'm happy with the parents who are there, who are, extremely supportive of what we are doing.
So it's quite interesting. So it means that, when we mentioned earlier, you mentioned about talent now being more accessible to you, probably use of technology. And I think you will be probably, and many schools will look at this as a long-term strategy now, not just because it's pandemic. I think we've been able to explore that there are resources available now which we never thought of. Is my understanding correct? Is that how everyone's looking at it?
Very correct, yes. Because when you're away from the main metros now, traveling time takes a lot of, it's a big challenge. And that at the fraction of a time you can have this. Let's take this interview itself. If we had to do it physically, then it would be almost impossible to think of the time taken to involve on this thing, the cost involved. And here now we are able to do, and it just doesn't. You are much more productive, I would say, very, very much. And so that is without doubt, that is going to be a big takeaway of this pandemic. There's no doubt in that.
Yeah. So just taking forward the use of technology, and there's another question that I mind, and you've already, many schools and your school would have already experienced the use of it, whether it's the virtual classroom or anything else. How has this technology really affected the teaching and the learning on your school side of it? You had mentioned that the parents are adapting to it, but what kind of major change that you've seen that's happening to it?
See, if I say, per se, if I compare with online classes with the offline regular classes, of course, it is a challenge. As you go lower down the ladder, smaller kids, it becomes even more challenging, because the personal level of engagement that they have, the attachment with the teacher that they have, that somehow, it's not practically, very much possible for the kids. Though we are, I think I would say in lower classes, I would say 50% effective, maybe higher classes 75%, not more than that. So it is a challenge, and I see it only as reinforcement activity online is fantastic. If I would say, suppose you have taken teachers already done it, and you want to reinforce certain things, then online interventions are perfect. That is one thing is there. But standalone, if I would say, I think we still are a long way ahead, to get that same level
So
of comfort.
we really can't replace the teacher from the school yet. I think the human touch point is very, very important. That personal care and teaching is still important, right? And I think technology is still being a supportive factor, not the main key core component right now. Is that correct?
Yes, you see, I mean, our brains are hardwired, for social contact. That's how humans are. We have always been like that, and I think especially kids, it's even more vital. So for them to connect and get through things, so it is going to be a very, very long while. I mean, I don't see next 10, 20 years also. But yes, one thing is for sure, though technology will never replace teachers, but teachers who don't use technology will be, I mean, out of the system. That is going to be sure. Because now technology has brought in a lot of enabling, tools to us in the way which can be used to enhance the learning experience of students. So that I think all teachers must adapt and move forward with.
So how can we blend that? How can we blend modern technology into a classroom and yet keep the traditional ways also alive? How are you seeing that working with you? A very interesting point you mentioned, that teachers who don't adapt to the modern way of teaching and learning will either not be able to be part of the system. But I think where is the blend? So how do we blend this modern technology into our schooling system?
I think it would be, in parts interventions, like I said, suppose you teach topic and you want to check whether every child has understood or not. In 40 students, it becomes very difficult to actually know. And children who don't understand are sadly the ones who don't even speak up. So in that case, what happens is that you have technology, let's say in the classroom, teacher takes a quiz, everybody has a device and everybody can enter the options. So you can quickly see who has understood or not understood. Even if you don't have it at home, everybody has a device at home. So even the assignments that you give, instead of teacher checking everything, that when the child does it, automatically you can see which child is doing well, where the child is getting stuck. Suppose a passage is there, you give, and you want to check if he has understood the entire paragraph. So there will be certain points where how long he is taking. There are a lot of companies which are providing that. So you are able to judge actually where this child is getting stuck or something. And then some intervention which is required as a teacher you can provide. But that is where technology is helping in terms of, I would say, where human brain cannot reach. Rather, a lot of en masse high number of transactions are to be done, or high number of calculations are to be done, or one person has to be present at multiple points. So that is where technology is doing these kind of things. So actual teaching will be done by teacher, but these supports will enhance the teaching experience and also provide the support, individual support that is required to the students. So if you are able to blend this, maybe, I mean, again, then artificial augmented reality is also another thing which is there.
Yes.
It gives
next upcoming thing. Yes.
Yes, it gives wonderful experience and understanding to the kids. So yes, it is. I mean, it's a proper blending is very important, and we should understand that these are all tools. I mean, these are just tools. They will not be actual teaching. Actual teaching is by the teacher through use of new technologies. Maybe earlier you used chalk, board, maybe some other things. Now you have some more things. So that is how we should look at it. And I think if we do it in right proportion, it will have fantastic results. There's no doubt.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I think we all, both of us know that we can't remove technology now with the progressive nature of the whole system. New AI tools coming in. I think you rightly mentioned teachers need to be more equipped. So moving away from just the pure tech side of it and technology side of it, I know there's a challenge for a lot of senior administrators like yourself and principals to change the mindset of teachers from a teacher-centric methodology to a very learning-centric methodology. I've done a lot of conferences and we keep having these conversations from the old school method to a new school method. Where do you see your challenge, and are you able to meet this? Are your teachers able to do this? And where do you personally see this going?
It is a requirement. We cannot get away with it. it is a challenge also. That also we cannot get away. I think it's a human tendency. Like if you have learned something in a way which you think you have understood well, you feel that okay, why should it not work for others? So that is one thing where teachers are used to, and especially when you are experienced, you have been producing excellent results. I mean, you don't want to remove that position of strength. You are in a strong position now, and suddenly you have to go into something unknown territory. You don't know how the students will react, how to conduct. So it is a challenge, but I think over time it requires a consistent effort, because we have been pushing that. One example we try is that, let's say students already prepared in the class, let them start the discussion. And teacher, instead of teaching the concepts, what you can do is that you can throw certain questions which will make the students to come up with new ideas. Because now it is not only important that you allow students to ask you questions. That was 20 years back also. But now it has come that you should ask such questions that students are forced to think, forced to analyze something new. I mean, they will think, how is it possible? So now once that question comes up, then they have to start thinking. Let them discuss among themselves. That is where teachers will enjoy, and slowly they will get the confidence. What we have done is that some of the teachers are adopting very well. So we started having those sessions recorded. We said other teachers also, you watch the recorded session, how this class is being conducted. So once they do that, then that same teacher who is doing excellently, we do have a workshop kind of thing where demo class is taken, and now this teacher is taking, and instead of students, we have the other teachers available. So again, they discuss. So what we are trying to do is, it is first the belief that has to change. The belief that all these teachers, there's no doubt they all want very good for the kids. But I think belief slowly will change when they start seeing impacts on the ground. Slowly they are changing. We are not there yet completely, but I would say that 30% on the path. So I think given current circumstances, I would say nice.
Yeah, I think, and I can take this from my own learning through, say, at Oxford, you were encouraged to question our teacher and look at a different perspective of how it's been taught to us and what our version of an answer would be to a teacher. So I think it's important for us, and the current youth would really like to see more engagement with a teacher rather than just being driven it from one-sided way. I think that's where we're all looking at. I'll come back to a different...
just one thing I will come on.
Please.
I like what you said, and also I will add one thing. What happens is now suppose in a higher class we want this kind of interactions from students, then it is important for us that we ensure that almost all students achieve at least grade level proficiency. Because without that, it's unfair for us to expect the kids to be questioning and thinking of in different perspectives. So I think that is where technology will come in and ensure that at least whoever has certain drawbacks, those are taken care by the teacher. So in the next level, when they go, they will be able to engage in this kind of discussion that we desire.
I agree. I totally agree. And I think it will take time. I think it's more of us adjusting to our teaching lifestyle and how we are, and also for students to accept it in that mode as well. And takes me to another very different segment, and this is also coming from a lot of our questions to parents and students and a lot of research that we've done. We've also seen a lot of Bollywood movies made in this. That at an early stage, we've seen a lot of students, parents not being able to have a correct, vision to choose the right career path and the choice of course. And there's always this confusion: do I go to arts or science in this, and what do I do, and where is my career reaching at? So at this early stage, it's very difficult to do it. But where is the challenge that you see in your school? Do you have any tools, any system where you are able to guide students to have a better career path in the year 11, 12, so that when they graduate, they don't repent and look, I should have done a different subject and not this. How do you deal with this?
Yes, it is a huge challenge. Going back in my graduation, the way I have ended up, I thought if I had done civil engineering, I would have been happier compared to chemical engineering. But leaving that aside, of course, yes, it is a huge challenge. There is no doubt in that. And especially, science dominating, since long. So parents' perception is that this is the place to go. But what we are doing is that we have some career counseling for the students from grade 8 itself. We have started, because I feel with the new NEP coming in, 9, 10, 11, 12 is going to be similar, I think. So in that case, students must start knowing what opportunities exist what is right, what is wrong. And it will take some time for them to understand, because at that age in the lower classes you get confused, and a lot of times you have infatuations. Okay, this looks great, I will have that, and suddenly you change it. So very important that students, and I will say not only students, parents are equally very important here, because they have a lot of say in what the career choice that child is going to make. So I think I am very, very sure any career path currently in this country or across the world you take, if you are good at it, you will be well off. There is no doubt in that. So many opportunities exist currently in different varied fields. It's just that you don't want to get stuck up. It's something which you're not interested, something you don't enjoy. So that is very crucial. So we have been doing career counseling for the students. We are engaging in their personalized learning also, especially with a company we have tied up, where students are able to see the journey that is there. Maybe if they have to go abroad, how they have to prepare, trying to give as much information as possible so they are prepared. Also we get some experts, until the schools got closed, we had people from Navy coming, one IS officer had come, one IPS had come. So different people we are calling, so that at least students of class 9 to 12, they speak and they understand and get some clarity what to expect. We will be trying these things, because I think I am very, very clear that as a school, it is our prime responsibility. When they graduate from in grade 12, they must be college ready. That is our responsibility. And in that case, we look to see as much information we can, so that they don't get stuck up in something that they are not happy with.
Yeah. And it's very interesting you said that it's important for you in Griffin International to make sure they're college ready, and that's where the gap is. And we feel that somewhere technology can play that role somewhere. Like you said, it's difficult to keep inviting people on the campus and do it. Maybe in future there will be platforms and technology that play that role to have more speakers, more experts coming to you more frequently and talking to students and parents. And I think college ready is a very important thing, and ready in a way that choose a program that is ultimately what you really want to do. It's not done through a peer pressure or just because 5 friends have done it, you also want to do it. And I think we need to move away from something like that. Your example is a key example. I'm sure you give it to your own students.
I have
look so.
Yes,
my next question is about. Sorry, please go ahead.
Interestingly, I've done chemical engineering, but never worked in that field. So it can be yes.
We don't know where our life takes us and what path in career it takes us to.
I agree.
And we feel that teachers also play a very key role in shaping up this information and grooming the kids to make sure that they choose the right paths for themselves. At Griffin International, is there something that you are able to do, and are you able to provide sufficient information to teachers, training that they're able to support the students to this? Can you let us know a little bit more on that?
Yes, the teachers play a very important role, without a doubt. I think a lot of times we come across with many people who take up certain subjects because they like that teacher very much and they enjoy that subject. So they do play a huge role. We do some, not I would say to grade level, but yes, to decent level, teachers have been part of that program, where when students are counseled, they also are aware what is happening, so that a lot of times external counselors are not always available. So then teachers are there and who understand the students better than anybody else. So that way they are able to counsel them in a much better fashion and provide them some guidance that is required. So we do to that level, I would say honestly, and we wouldn't where more professional work is required, we do engage external people who are more proficient updated in terms of what new things are happening, which new courses are coming up, and which may have more relevance going ahead in future. So that's how we're doing it.
Very interesting, and that is probably the final question for the date for today. How do you think schools can play an important role in helping students to plan their academic path properly? Once they've passed out, is there a system like that? Is that relationship still carries on once they pass out, and how do you manage that as well? And how should the school really manage it?
We are a new school, so of course our first batch will be passing out, I think, coming academic year.
Interesting. You can plan ahead now.
Yes. I think, preparing them well for the future is, as I said, that is most important thing as a school that you can do. After that, once they go into college, they have their own plans and they want to pursue, where I think the school has little control over it. You can continue in touch with them, The advantage when the school will get little older, what will happen is that these alumni can come as speakers to us people, to our students. They can guide them properly. That okay, these are the things you should do. These are the things maybe I did wrong. You can do it better. So that can be an excellent resource point of view. And I think because these students will connect much strongly than any other counselor who would come across. So that way we can continue engaging with them, and I would say giving back to the institution, and as to prepare them for future. I think foremost is counsel them very well. They know what opportunities exist and what they want to do, so that when they make a decision, it should be based on all information that is required. It is available. A lot of times you don't have information, and whatever is available you take up. So I think that is not right, and I think that is how, as an institution, we should all prepare these students, and so that they take, I would say, informed choice in their future, because work does take up 50% of your life. The number
It sure does. It sure does. And I think you rightly mentioned, and I'll just like to add to this. I think it's important for during the stage of 11th and 12th, and when they pass out, you never forget your school. So that relationship is always there. But like you said, it's important to pick up and do the right information, authentic information, and make an informed choice. And I think during that journey, if the parents and students are given that information, they'll always have a very happy memory and probably have a better career path going forward. And that's it. So, look, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Yadav. Thank you very much for all the insights you shared with us. And we look forward to having maybe more conversations with you. Best of luck to you and to your school and your team. We know these are challenging times of the pandemic. We all hope this will end very soon. And we'll probably go to a normal way, but we'll still have technology play the key role. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Bhatia, for having me. It was a pleasure interacting with you and getting new perspectives. Thank you, and best wishes.
Most welcome. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.